Okay, there. We're broadcasting right now.
Hey, listening world.
Yeah. Yeah, your connection is breaking up, but like I could deal with it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's my connection. I don't know if it's your connection.
I'm wired in here, man. I got that hundo.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I said, if you're recording your own audio at your end, I can deal with it. It's pretty much just an issue of me being able to understand what you say.
Can you understand what I'm saying?
Well, that's a crap. That's a crapshoot. No matter what the connection is.
I'm doing a speed test.
Okay. All right, I'm ready to.
Which is taking longer than it should.
Yeah.
It's probably me.
Yeah. There's a first clue.
Maybe I should get a new
router. Maybe. I mean, my connection seems flawless, but of course that's on my end, not yours. All right, you ready? You ready to go there, Fred?
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Here we go.
You're listening to The Weigh-In with Mike Parsons.
What are you cackling at, fatty? Too much pie, that's your problem.
And Fred Slow.
Anybody want a peanut?
On demand 24/7 at weighinradio.com.
Interior crocodile alligator. I drive a Chevrolet movie theater. Interior
Welcome
crocodile
to The Weigh-In.
alligator.
Weighinradio.com. 590 KFNS. Simulcast 1380 KXFN. I, of course, am Fred Slow. Alongside me, Mike Parsons.
What's up? That's all I got for you, Fred. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Did you know that the Seinfeld theme song was redone for each episode?
Really? Wow. That's
it was done. Terrible start.
You want to start over?
Is this thing really messing us up that bad? What is going on here?
Yeah, I don't know. No, I just need to focus more. Hold on. All right. 3. Let's try this again. 3.
Microphones all over the place and shit.
Okay, you ready? Here we go.
You're listening to The Weigh-In with Mike Parsons.
What are you cackling at, fatty? Too much pie, that's your problem.
And Fred Slow.
Anybody want a peanut?
On demand 24/7 at weighinradio.com.
Interior crocodile alligator. I drive a Chevrolet movie theater. Interior
Welcome
crocodile
back
alligator.
to The Weigh-In. I, of course, am Fred Slow. Alongside me, Mike Parsons.
Yes, welcome.
Weighinradio.com. 590 KFNS. Simulcast on 1380 KXFN. Mike, did you know that every single intro to every single episode of Seinfeld was done uniquely for that episode based off of the pace of Jerry's monologue?
Wow. That sounds like an unnecessary expense to me.
There's nothing I love more than Seinfeld trivia because it's trivial.
Yeah.
Trivial.
You and every other white person on earth beside myself.
We got that connection.
Yeah.
Us.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm not opposed to Seinfeld. Ironically, the only season of Curb Your Enthusiasm I ever saw was a Seinfeld reunion episode season. I watched the whole season. I enjoyed it. But I just never got into Seinfeld. I mean, I'll watch an episode here or there and I'll enjoy it. But when I'm flipping through the channels and the only thing that's on is Seinfeld, I'll be like, ugh, nothing's on but Seinfeld. And then I'll watch it and I'll find it somewhat amusing. I never joined. I don't want to say the cult, but you know what I'm saying.
When do you think you'll go on record as being the only guy to not like Seinfeld and Star Wars?
I think I just did.
Okay, yeah, that's well. I guess someone needs to break the news to your parents, Mike.
And that's why everybody hates me, Fred.
Weird week in sports, Mike. Weird week in culture and community. It depending what statistics you go off of, it has happened again, right? San Bernardino, California, earlier this week, a tragic shooting where, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, 14 victims fallen dead, plus the alleged attackers.
Yeah. This, much like any mass shooting and or terrorist attack and or whatever you want to call it, the number of victims seems to change by the moment. But last I heard, I think it was 14 dead and 21 injured. Either way, one person being killed and one person being injured in something like this is one too many.
It's unreal, the occurrence of these events. Mass shooting is defined by our United States government as 4 or more victims in a single shooting, and there's allegedly been over 300 of them this year, allegedly. A lot of those are gang violence. A lot of those are relatable to the things outside of terrorism. But they do happen. They do exist. This this thing is polarizing, and it's tragic and it's terrible. And your thoughts go out, and you try to send your best wishes. But what good does that really do? But what it puts people on two sides of the fence, right?
Well, you're absolutely right, Fred. And I spend a lot of time around the news talk format, and it really becomes repetitive. I mean, you run out of new ways to look at this. You run out of ideas of a possible solution. And to me, Fred, what I find to be the most baffling is how in times of tragedy, we seem to turn on each other. What happens? I think people get scared, people get angry, people feel helpless. And I think everybody has a feeling that they know what the solution is, and that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And everybody trots out their poli-sci degrees from the University of Google, and they get on Facebook and they start fights, and there's no conversation to be had. And I think that, to me, that's very unconstructive. Like Fred, okay, whenever there's a big shooting like this, you get one side of the Facebook aisle saying, we need more gun control. And then you get another side of the Facebook aisle saying, we need more guns. So, Fred, let's do a little role play, okay? You play a friend of mine. Okay. You be the fireman, I'll be the cheerleader. No, just kidding.
Well, and this is absolutely hypothetical because we're not actually friends.
Right, exactly. So you're really going to have to put on your acting hat here, Fred. Now, pretend you're a Facebook post and say, hey, terrible shooting, we need more gun control. And I'll do the typical response. Ready? Go ahead.
Here's my Facebook post. OMG, can you tell me guns aren't the problem? ?
Yeah, it's like, hey, you shut up, you bleeding heart liberal commie. You're part of the problem. Okay, Fred, now be a Facebook post in favor of more guns to citizens.
If so and so was prepared with their own gun, then no tragedy would have occurred.
You shut up, you redneck, you redneck Tea Party hick. You're part of the problem. So how is a constructive conversation supposed to come out of it, especially when you tell someone else they're part of the problem? You've already put someone else on the defensive, and now there's no exchange of ideas. There's just a shouting match, and both sides get more and more angry at each other, and it further beats them down into their one-sided ideology. And to me, look, the world's a the world's a scary place, right? And we're getting it from all sides. We're getting it from mass shooters. We're getting it from the threat of terrorists. But mostly, we're giving it to ourselves and each other.
Wrong at all. And are there more mass shootings today than there were 10 years ago, than there were 20 years ago, than there were 30 years ago? I haven't done a research to say for sure, but I'm almost positive they're pretty similar. I'm almost positive people today are committing crimes just as severely as they were 10, 20 years. So I don't think it's this day and age. I don't think there's something in the water. I don't think it's global warming. But I do think there is, because technology is advanced, medicine is advanced, the day and age is advanced, that we are aware of things that we weren't necessarily aware of before. And I think mental illness is a gigantic one. And I would love to, if there was a way to take this anger and this outrage and this outreach to put that towards some sort of help or preventative medicine or some sort of attempt to help people who feel they need help. I'm so mad at my workplace that I feel like I have to go in there and commit. I will just talk it out. I will go to my boss because I'm comfortable and I think of sane mind. And if we can create an atmosphere culturally where it's okay, for instance, Mike, it's okay if you break your arm. I'm going to sign your cast. Is it okay if you have a mental illness? I don't think it's as socially acceptable. And because it's not, I think if we were to champion that, I think we might create a better atmosphere that, I don't know, maybe in a way might help prevent these kind of things. I'm not smart enough, but I would hope that.
Right. Well, and I think all of it is a part of the bigger puzzle. If you tell me that there's too much access to guns, okay, maybe that's part of the puzzle. Well, okay, there's too much gun control. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe the access to guns are fine. It's just, the laws aren't enforced. And then there's people out there who say maybe it's mental illness. It probably all works together somewhere or somehow. The problem is, whether it's politicians, whether it's just you and me talking here, Fred, whether it's your friends on Twitter or Facebook, people get so comfortable in their own beliefs and their own opinions that you can't challenge. If you challenge that opinion, if you challenge that comfortable worldview that they have, they get very defensive and they get very angry, and people don't want to exchange ideas. They want to tell you why they're right and you're wrong, and anything you say that doesn't line up 100% with what they believe, you should shut up and you're an idiot or you're part of the problem.
The state of California has some of the strictest gun laws in the entire country. That's a fact. That's you can own less in California than you can in most other states. Well, 49 other states. With that said, controlling where the guns are, that doesn't necessarily stop a criminal. Controlling the type of guns doesn't necessarily stop a criminal. So I don't know if that's the answer, and I'm not to be completely right-wing and tell everyone they can keep their guns, because I own a gun, Mike, but do I think everyone should? Probably not. And it's selfish. I do know on Black Friday, just 2 weeks ago, 185,000 background checks were done for gun sales. 185,000. That's an absurd number for one day.
Yeah, and you know what, too, Fred? After something like this happens, sales of guns go through the roof because people get scared and they put themselves in that situation and they say, well, you know what? I'm not going to be a victim. This world's a crazy place. If I'm in that situation, I want to have a chance to protect myself.
Are we also at the point where I'm not, and I'm older and I'm wiser than I was when I was a kid, but I'm not, I don't want to say traumatized because this is an important thing and it is sad that it happened, but these things happen with such regular occurrence that it does not affect me the way that it should. And I'm completely aware of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we become desensitized to it because, case in point, the same day as the San Bernardino shooting, there were 3 people shot in a mass shooting type situation in Savannah, Georgia. And probably nobody heard about this because, number one, you had what happened in San Bernardino happening. And number two, when you hear 3 people shot compared to what we've been going through, you're right, Fred. It just rolls right off your back because eventually, and sadly, it's become background noise.
I live in communities, both me, to where when the nightly news starts, the lead story every time is shooting. The lead story every time is this crime was committed, this violent crime, in a community that is very close to both of us. And we, for a young age, have become used to that. And the only time I ever noticed it was when I was on the outside looking in. I was younger. I was living in Montana, and I opened up the newspaper one morning because I had a newspaper. And instead of the headline being "This crime committed," it was like the farm report. So I was like,
right. It was like a police blotter or something. It happens so much. We're just going to give you the Cliff Notes in its own section.
And I don't think the Billing Gazette sells through the roof, so they're not trying to grab the reader like that. But this kind of stuff sells. This kind of stuff, this kind of stuff brings attention, and it's going to be reported on in a way to where you're going to get an overdose of it every time it happens. And when you get an overdose, it creates a wave, and then that wave is those people who either adamantly support or adamantly will attack these scenarios, and it's not going away anytime soon.
We'll be right back. The weigh-in on 590 KFNS. I hope that was a suitable out cue. I had like 2 seconds.
Well, like I said, we don't have to be perfect. I mean,
okay.
Close.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, we had another somewhat false start, but I think we got it back together, back under control, and had a decent discussion. Okay, so when we get back, I just want to touch on how comforting I find Lester Holt, and then I'll transition into the Kobe thing.
Who's Lester Holt?
He's the anchor on NBC Nightly News.
Oh, the black guy?
Yeah, the black guy.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I love him. Okay. Okay, so what I'll do is okay. I will bring it I'll bring it in this one.
Yeah, that's fine. My computer's trying to actually play a video and I can't get it to stop.
Yeah.
But stop doing that.
Yeah. I think your computer's maybe that's what's slowing it down.
I don't know what's going on, man. It's being weird.
Okay, here we go.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
These guys are like bad stand-up comics that you can't heckle.
WeighInRadio.com.
I do have to say, Fred, when bad stuff happens like what happened in San Bernardino last week, I think it shows that we all need a guy who's on TV every night, regardless of what happens, to make us feel like we're going to be a little bit okay. I turned on the nightly news, and I found Lester Holt to be very, very comforting. When I watch news, I don't want new and fresh. I want to see the same guy that I've been watching for years, and I know Lester just took that job over about a year ago, but he had been filling in for quite a while before that. And, to me, I found that very comforting, that the guy I watch every day, no matter what's happening, even if the world's melting down, is there, he's calm, and he's informative.
Same connection with Dave Letterman for a lot of years. I would go to when there was like a big world, 9/11, Osama bin Laden, all these like tragedies. Because Letterman would, for me, he just touched home. So same thing. You gotta find that guy you trust.
Yeah. Well, Fred, your safe little cocoon is crumbling around you because Letterman's retiring, and Kobe Bryant announced on some website, the Players Tribune, via poem, like a 10th grader asking a girl out to a dance, that he is retiring with his ditty "Dear Basketball."
Yeah, I mean it was poetic and perfect. Is that what you're about? Is poetic and perfect?
No, what I meant is that I'm pretty sure it's going to show up in some kind of commercial, a Gatorade commercial, a Sprite commercial. I can see it now. It's going to be in black and white. Kobe's going to be in an empty arena, reflecting back on his career, and you're going to hear his voiceover reading select stanzas from "Dear Basketball."
I love everything you just said. I can't tell if you're praising or being condescending because everything you're saying sounds perfect to me.
I'm just predicting. I want it on record that I called it.
I think the Players Tribune is ran by Derek Jeter. I think it's a thing that he started. It's a avenue for players to reach the fans directly without the harassment of the media. That's us, Mike.
Yeah.
And
we're the worst.
I love everything about a Kobe Bryant going away season. He is a guy who is at that high level 20 years in to where he deserves a bon voyage like a Mariano Rivera or like a Derek Jeter to be able throughout the entire season, and he'll get voted to an all-star game, even though he's the 6th best player on the Lakers and maybe not even a top 100 player in the league. But he'll be there, and I'll be there with him every step of the way because I love him and I miss him already.
It was a genius move, Fred, because now instead of people focusing on the fact that the Lakers are trash and Kobe is really a liability to them, they're just going to be focusing on his farewell career. Think about it, Fred. Earlier this week, they lost to the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that has the longest losing streak out of all four sports. They got off to a historically bad start, and they snapped that winless streak against Kobe Bryant and the Lakers. So before Kobe announced, I would call it the pre-Deer basketball era, people would be talking about how terrible the Lakers are and how much Kobe needs to hang it up. But ever since he announced that he's retiring, the whole story was, oh, Kobe Bryant finally got clapped for in his hometown of Philadelphia. It's a brilliant move.
Yeah, congratulations, Philadelphia 76ers, on winning a game. So that's a big deal. Like they earned that. Kobe Bryant going back to Philly and going 6 for 23 or whatever it was from the floor and shooting 18-3, and struggling with his on-court performance doesn't matter at all to me, Mike.
Right.
He's bigger than the game right now. The game does not matter. For the LA Lakers, and this is presumably going to be a lost season, he is going to keep the spotlight on the Lakers, and that is what he needs, because once that Kobe Bryant money clears up, they're going to be able to bring some players back in, breathe some life back into that organization, and they're on the court. And then before you know it, maybe you have another you're not going to have another Kobe Bryant. He's one of maybe 3 guys in the whole history of the NBA that's doing what he – but you're going to have a rinse to that LA team, and it's going to be with the going away of Kobe Bryant that a new era is ushered in.
I do have to say, though, Fred, you notice a marked difference in Kobe Bryant from before he announced he was retiring to after. I have never seen a guy more relieved to be almost done with his job than Kobe Bryant. I think it was maybe a night or two before where Kobe Bryant, he was really frustrated, and he says, I could have scored 81 tonight. It would not have made a bit of damn difference. That was the Kobe Bryant who, back when he was at his physical peak, was winning you championships with and without the help of Shaq. That was the competitor. I think once he decided to hang it up, I think all competitive urge has left him, and he's really just trying to get through the rest of the season.
I read the poem to my wife.
And then she divorced you.
No, she did not. She, like one of 123,000 people who have liked it on the Players Tribune, liked it. But I read it in a dramatic setting where me, I'm a showman. I took it and I brought that poem to life for her, okay? And after the poem, you could tell she was tearing up a little bit. It was not source material, but my performance, let's be honest. And then whenever I brought that to her, she said, do you ever love for anything like Kobe Bryant feels for basketball? And I like it, Mike, and I thought, well, I played basketball for a long time. And no, I absolutely do not. I do not have that kind of connection to a single thing, and that's why I'm embracing this, because he's literally breaking up with the love of his life, basketball.
Well, number one, Fred, that's the wrong answer. She wanted you to say, yes, of course you, dear, and you blew it. But as much crap as I'm giving Kobe, and as much crap as your Deadspins and your SB Nations are giving Kobe, you just think back. When did Kobe come? Did Kobe come into the league of the 96-97 season or the 95-96 season?
95-96.
Okay, so it's been 20 years. So in those 20 years, half of the NBA championships have been won by a guy named Kobe or a guy named Tim Duncan. And then
that's a crazy thought.
Yeah, it really is. And it's interesting because Tim Duncan has had such a quiet yet great career, and I know it's all 100% because of the market that he plays in. But you look at the Lakers, who they're like bottom of the barrel. I mean, they are just at the bottom of the West. Very good chance. Well, I wouldn't say very good chance. Very slim chance of even making the playoffs. And then you look at Tim Duncan and the Spurs out in San Antonio, and that's a machine that keeps on rolling. And the difference is that the Spurs are run by Greg Popovich, their head coach, and he's runs the front office. And the Lakers are being run by Kobe Bryant, an aging superstar whose mind still wants to do what his body can't.
The thing about Greg Popovich, who is now the USA men's basketball coach, I mean, he's got the clout. He's the best in the world. He can lead those veteran guys and those young guys, and that hasn't been found in LA since probably Phil Jackson has been there. They've been through a couple different guys, but I'm telling you right now, the headline is not Lakers of today. That's not the story. The headline is like the unbelievable career of Kobe Bryant. And now, if you want to compare those careers to guys who he ran parallel with, Tim Duncan and Garnett. You're probably going to struggle to find anyone else. The numbers don't work right. Like Duncan and Kevin Garnett both have championships, both excellent. Are they on that same level as a Kobe Bryant? They absolutely are not. They do not fan, and they do not relate. And I hate to use like these markability. You can't put them out there like you can Kobe with shoes or with endorsements. Duncan, Garnett, excellent players. Kobe Bryant, legendary.
Right. Well, and I mean, you're right about Kobe Bryant. I mean, if you remember when Michael Jordan retired, the NBA and the media, Fred, were thirsty to dub just about anyone who had a hot game as the next Michael Jordan. Allen Iverson. They looked at Ray Allen and Stephon Marbury. Who was you say, Fred?
Penny Hardaway.
Yeah, Penny Hardaway. Even Harold Miner from the Heat before they were an actual team. For a minute, his nickname was Baby Jordan. But, of course, between the time Michael Jordan retired from the Bulls, I'm not counting his time with the Wizards, from the time he retired from the Bulls to the time that LeBron James came into the league, he was the heir apparent. And I think it's unfair to expect every superstar to possibly be the next Michael Jordan. Kobe Bryant wasn't Michael Jordan. Kobe Bryant was Kobe Bryant, but he was the face of NBA basketball for a long time, and then he kind of overlapped with LeBron James. So it sort of seemed like since 2003, there was like a dual superstar system as the face of NBA basketball. So, of course, Kobe's retiring. LeBron James has a couple of good years left. Maybe the guy who becomes that second rising star with the season he's having, Steph Curry.
Yeah, I mean, and there's Steph Curry's a different kind of player. Obviously, no guard has played 20 years in the league except for Kobe Bryant. And Steph Curry has the kind of the frame and the build to where he can go that long. He had injuries earlier in his career, but he's absolutely figured that thing out. He's a lean dude, and he's going to play a long time. And he's not going to be the next Kobe Bryant. He's going to be the first Steph Curry because he just plays so uniquely that he doesn't he doesn't take essence from other players' games. So the way he's doing, the way he's made 100 threes through the first 20 games, are you kidding me? That's an unrealistic. But Kobe Bryant has those unreal statistics. Don't think that Kobe Bryant's a guy who just sits on those 5 championships and calls it. It's not that. He played 82 games like 8 different times.
Right.
Numbers are unreal. Like,
well, and
they're astronomical players.
By the way, I think that if somebody wanted to sit on their 5 championships in anything, that would be perfectly okay. But I think you're right. Steph Curry is not going to be the next Michael Jordan. He's not going to be the next Kobe Bryant. He's going to be the first Steph Curry. And I don't think Kobe Bryant was ever really trying to be the next Michael Jordan. I think that if you're a player as competitive as Kobe Bryant is, it's almost an insult to say he's the next whatever. And I mean, the only way you can categorize him as the next Michael Jordan is just like you said, his marketability and his appeal outside the game.
There's a list of guys who we were talking about the next Jordan, right? You're talking about Harold Miner. And I'm thinking of names of dudes who are very good. Grant Hill, who you're very familiar with.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like a Dwayne Wade is a prime example. Jerry
Right
Stackhouse.
after Dwayne Wade won that first one with Shaq, he was the next Michael Jordan for a summer.
Vince Carter, Trace Brady. There's a list of Derrick Rose playing in the league right now. There's a list of dudes that have had that moniker, and I think it's heavy. I think it is a heavy one. I think the only guy who's really that and ran with it is LeBron James. And LeBron James, who is obviously wears 23, just has been compared to Michael's career, is the only guy who's able to take that pressure and kind of go out on his own and hit that upper echelon of talent, because players are great. I'd love to have them in my franchise, but we're talking about the three dudes. It's Jordan, it's LeBron, and it's Kobe, all their own dude.
Yeah, and the thing, too, with LeBron James is doing it differently than Jordan. You know, of course, Jordan had Scottie Pippen. He had the Worm for a while, and he had a decent supporting cast. But LeBron James, I think LeBron James is kind of he sort of revolutionized the way that superstars, for better or worse, kind of have pull on their team. Because, you know, Michael Jordan, he wanted to do it all on his own. I mean, of course, you know, he was happy to have Scottie Pippen assist him, because he was smart and knew Scottie Pippen was a great player and would help him win. But I'm sure Michael Jordan, even if he didn't have Scottie Pippen, or if he had the choice, would rather do it all on his own. Where LeBron James, obviously, he'll hook up with other players who he think will help him win championships. And it worked a couple times with the Heat. It's not happening yet in Cleveland, but to me, I think that's the biggest difference between Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
There's something to be said about LeBron James and his approach, right? So playing with Dwayne Wade's a fine player. Chris Bosh was a fine player. He still have the tools right now in Cleveland. Not super important for this conversation, though. If you give LeBron James a guy like Shaquille O'Neal, or if you give LeBron James a guy like Scottie Pippen, and I don't mean O'Neal at the end of his career when he briefly played with LeBron. I mean like in his prime, Shaquille O'Neal. This conversation, Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, to LeBron, Jordan, Kobe. And it's about that support. And maybe LeBron gets there. Maybe he runs 4 in a row. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be a little surprised. But if he does run off 4 in a row, that's going to just change his order. But right now, any way you put the three of those dudes, it's 1A, 1B, 1C.
Yeah, and Fred, you know, I like to bust your chops. Obviously, Kobe Bryant is as great of a player as advertised, but I still think it's stupid he wrote a poem to retire from basketball. But that's just me. You know, Fred, I could have played NBA basketball if I were any good. Hey-o.
Right. Could have wrote a poem if I NBA. I got nothing. Mike, you're listening to The Way on 590 KFNS, simulcast on 1380 KXFN. This.
All right. Wow, we went 16 and a half of that with basketball. I never thought I'd go that long with the basketball convo.
Oh, my bad. I'm going so long.
No, that's okay. It's fun. After I said the Spurs are doing well because Greg Popovich is in charge, I had to Google to see what the Spurs record was, because I'm like, shoot, what if? Yeah,
no, they're really good.
Right. But I was like,
Tim Duncan's taking like every third night off. I don't know if you saw that. Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge, they're carrying that team.
Yeah. Well, he only plays like 20 minutes a game.
Yeah. Run for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll go
stadium stuff.
What's that? Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go short on stadium because everyone in town's doing it.
Okay. So you go ahead and bring this in, and we'll do this one. Well, this one will be a 10-minute one. That way, it'll leave us with 13 or whatever. You know, we'll shoot for 10 on this. But if we go longer, that's fine. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. You bring us in here.
Yep.
We go.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
Thank you so much for saying what needed to be said.
WeighInRadio.com.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Update for the listener, Mike. Our friend of our show, Kristen Morris, has been in therapy now, chemotherapy for the last week, and she has gone through 6 treatments, and she is on her road to recovery. and we to this point raised approximately $2,500 or something in her name. So
Holy cow!
Crowdline,
That's like
CrowdRise. Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
that's like quadruple what we had last week.
Well, that's the total. I don't know exactly what's coming, but they're on their way to where they need to be. So crowdrise.com/can't stop won't stop Fi. Obviously, all of links to help her and follow her journey are available through our social media, which is facebook.com/theway. And you can find me on Twitter at @TuvaSkydive, and you can find Mike on Twitter at
Other Mike P.
Other Mike Parsons. But
no,
yeah,
other
so
Mike P. Don't look for other Mike Parsons. That's someone else.
Sorry, send him a link too.
Yeah.
Though, make sure he knows.
Yeah.
She's well on the road to recovery. So we are excited for her doing this and wish her the best in the world and good.
And those chemo treatment Freds are no joke. Gosh.
No, they will. Yeah, they will just kick your butt.
They say sometimes the cure is worse than the disease, which obviously nothing's worse than cancer. But chemo is very taxing, and if those of us who can count ourselves lucky if we never have to go through that.
Kristen's last scheduled day for chemo is 29th, so that would be a nice Christmas gift for her and her family to kind of nip this thing in the butt.
Go get them.
Lots of sports talk in the news, Mike. St. Louis Rams, my St. Louis Rams. By the way, I'm going to the game this afternoon against the Cardinals. Should be a world of
the former St. Louis football Cardinals.
Oh my gosh, man! All the reports are saying there will be a LA, and one of those teams will be the Rams. And here is how Stan Kroenke is going to do it. Mike, are you ready?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I got a deal for you. I'm Stan Kroenke, and you are another NFL owner. Okay.
I'm Mike from the Chargers. How about that?
Yeah, you're Mike from the Chargers.
Just
so, Mike,
here's for argument's sake, just a random team I thought of off the top of my head.
Here's what I want to do. I'll move right outside Los Angeles, not Los Angeles proper. Okay. And I got a ton of money, Mike. I'm gonna build a stadium.
Right. And you want to be outside of Los Angeles, Fred, because nobody wants to drive in actual Los Angeles.
Hey, the 101, nobody for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build, and I'm not trying to say anything negative about Jerry Jones, but I'm going to build the stadium you have ever seen on the face of this entire planet. I know you love the sound of that, Mike.
Yeah, I'm in. Let's go.
Well, and I knew you'd be in early. I'm going to change the deal on you just a little bit. You give me half of my $1 billion that I need, and then I will let you play 8 home games a year. I won't do, though, and I don't want to sound like a jerk, but I'm not going to give you any of the parking on any other day of the year because I own the parking lots. Oh, and by the way, when I bring in soccer or cons or circuses or any other reason I use my venue, I'm not going to give you any of that money either. But those 8, oh, and I forgot to tell you, I've started my own merchandising and food service. We're going to rent out my new company to provide food for everyone in this venue, which I'm not going to cut you in on, but for half the construction cost, your name's on part of it on 8 days a year. Are you in, Mike? Because that's the deal. That's the deal that's out there right now.
So what you're saying, Fred, is this deal doesn't pay, but I get paid with exposure.
Which is far more than actual money. Every musician knows that.
Or podcaster. Yeah, well, Fred.
This is just absolutely the worst deal in the history of proposed deals I've ever heard, Mike.
I've got sucker written across my forehead, so go ahead and let me ink that contract. Well, on top of that, Fred, okay, I mean, the stories are coming out all over the place. Made it to Deadspin. How much Stan Kroenke wants to get the heck out of St. Louis to L.A. So much so that the governor of Missouri threw a boatload of money at him to just do nothing. Stay where you are and continue doing what you're doing. Here's a whole lot of money. Whatever you want, we will pay for it. No, it's okay. I'm going to L.A. I mean, Fred, you are a longtime St. Louisian. You are a longtime Rams fan. Does this not feel like a cold slap in the face?
There is no reason Stan Kroenke care about me, well, except that he went to the University of Missouri, except that he has strong family ties to the area, and except that he owns a sports team here. So wait, he actually should care about me, but he doesn't, Mike. He doesn't care about me so much that we can't convince him with money, drugs, or whatever he wants to stay in the town. Allegedly drugs, not actually drugs. We cannot convince him to stay in St. Louis. So here's what St. Louis is. They've made a ploy to Roger Goodell because they're smart. We're smart here in St. Louis. They peacock and all those are at the stadium committee. Here's what they've decided to do. We think roughly with our new Riverfront Stadium, we can get $75 million in naming rights. We were going to use that $75 million to ease the burden on taxpayers because it's hard here in the city. But in Roger, we'll give you the $75 million in naming rights. You just make sure our team stays here in St. Louis. Dang. These dudes are smart. That's like going to your boss. That's right over his head. I love this.
Right. Well, look, if I'm a Rams fan, Fred, I am not spending a single cent on that team because I don't want this Kroenke fella getting any more of my money. I'll keep Todd Gurley on my fantasy team all day. But as for the bending over backwards that the city, that the state has done to keep this football team here, and now this guy's making deals with other football teams for them both to move out to LA and build a new stadium where he would pretty much get a stadium for free here on public money. I'm giving this guy the middle finger and adopting a new team.
Well, luckily for you, Mike, you don't have to worry about if you have to pay for the new venue because the St. Louis Board of Aldermen said it doesn't matter what you think. We're going to build it no matter what. So if you live in St. Louis, proper, it doesn't matter. It's coming out of your taxes.
Wait, so whether there's an NFL football team to play in it or not, a new publicly funded stadium will be built. What is
In
this like?
theory.
What is this, Field of Dreams? If you build it, they will come. It's going to start looking like Beijing after the Summer Olympics. You ever see that where Beijing built all those new arenas and then they were used for 2 weeks and they're lying in ruins? It's going to look like those shows on the Discovery Channel where it says Life Without People. They're just going to be this giant publicly funded football stadium in the middle of St. Louis with a whole bunch of vines and nature taking over.
It's going to be the scene. That's where they're going to shoot the next I Am Legend movie because that's how open it's going to be. It's going to be that. There's a really good article right now in the St. Louis Business Journal, and it's written by Jake, and he's a really good contributor here locally. If you want your thumb on the pulse of kind of business insiders in St. Louis, check him out. But some of these numbers are ridiculous, Mike. $1 billion for Riverfront Stadium. They're talking about $415 million in bond payments. We're talking about $93 million in tax credits. We're talking about $450 million investment from the NFL and the owner. We're talking about so many numbers that you cannot process it. It doesn't make sense to my feeble NFC mind.
This is exactly why I don't pay taxes, Fred, because of crap like this. Oh, my God. What a cluster mess this is. I mean,
This
look,
whole thing.
if the guy wants to walk to L.A., let him walk to L.A. and save your money. I guess maybe the thinking is what? Okay, if the Rams walk to L.A. and there's a brand new stadium in the middle of St. Louis, then maybe the NFL will give you another team?
The only one that could possibly be in the mix is the Jacksonville Jaguars that are owned by Shad Khan, who tried to buy the Rams the same year that Stan Kroenke strong-armed him out of the deal, which in hindsight, everyone is suspect on because they think bad business went down there with Kroenke, and Kroenke doesn't have a ton of love from owners. I don't know how he's going to be able to easily convince people that he deserves to have the first or second best market in all of the country for his team when everyone else hates his guts.
Well, and you got to ask yourself, Fred, what's worse? Having no NFL football team or having your football team being the Jacksonville Jaguars and or the St. Louis Jaguars?
I don't know what we would have to rename. I like the Explorers, Lewis and Clark's from here. I don't know. We'd have to come up with a cool name, but anything right now, in my opinion, is better than a Stan Kroenke team.
Right. We have to hit a quick break here, Fred. But it seems like LA is going to get one or two football teams, even though Los Angeles is a terrible sports market. Looks like Stan Kroenke wants it to be them, and if he can't make it happen, I just wonder if what's going on right now is going to hurt his relationships with the fans beyond repair. It's the weigh-in 590 KFNS. Oh, sorry, Fred.
No, you're good. My point is, I don't know. Old man slow.
At the beginning of that, I don't know if we're talking over each other or not because we're getting some blips and blaps.
I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. All right.
Well, my recording's clean as day, but I feel like everything on my computer is working really fast except for my internet.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? As long as your recording is clean, that's all I care about. I mean, that's why we do this the way we do it.
Do you the way I do it?
Okay. I don't know. I have an opinion about Tim Tebow's girlfriend leaving him for lack of sex. If you want,
let's do it. Yes, let's do it.
Okay, this is Okay, this is going to be 13 minutes here. Let's see. Is this our this is our last segment. Okay. I'll bring this one in.
Text me and ask me who was playing Santa Claus at the Santa Claus dinner that I run.
Oh,
my mom is the weirdest.
Tell her it's Santa. Who does she think? Okay,
I said Chris Kringle.
Okay, so I say 590 KFNS. I know you said, let's see, should I say the 1380 as well, or is that optional?
Yeah, we're still there right now.
Okay.
By the way, a lot of cool stuff going on behind the scenes that I'll tell you about later. We got a lot of really talented dudes that are
good.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on just a second. Just give me a second here.
Everything's going to be running smoother now that I shut down STL Today's website.
Oh, that could be. Let's see. You know what? I haven't been given out our website either. But luckily I put it in I have it in all our imaging. I'm not the best at resets. I kind of like to just go. So I've kind of reset proof the imaging. Okay, here we go.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
I'm a little worried about being a slut.
WeighInRadio.com.
The weigh-in 590 KFNS, simulcasting 1380 KXFN. And Fred, I have a public service announcement to everyone not named Cam Newton. No one looks cool dabbing unless you're Cam Newton.
I've said this on the Sports Junkies. I try my absolute hardest to hate Cam Newton, and I cannot do it.
Me either. I mean, he's nice to the kids. He talks loves the kids. He talks trash on the field, but that's what you're supposed to do. He told an Alabama fan he'd slap the bleep out of him. But that's because the Alabama fan was instigating him, asking him about, taking money to play football at Auburn. I like everything about Cam Newton. To me, he's the best reason to watch NFL football on and off the field.
That's the thing about getting the bleep slapped out of you is you usually deserve it.
Right.
Yeah, it's usually fitting.
And I mean, look, we all strive to be that guy. We're the guy who's extremely good at what we do. Doesn't take crap from anyone.
Is beautiful.
Yeah, a very handsome man. He wears that sweater vest like a pro. And you're nice. And you're nice to the kids. That's what you're Superman. If you're a bad guy, Superman will beat the crap out of you, slap the bleep out of you without killing you, and he's nice to the children.
It was that Play 60 commercial. Become your mom's favorite player.
Yeah, and actually at that point, I wasn't high on Cam Newton because I thought Cam Newton was one of those quarterbacks who was building his brand and not his game. But he's proven me wrong this season.
He's so good. That whole team is so good. Everything they do is so good. They're so good.
I'm at the point now, Fred, and usually I'm a hater, as you heard during the Kobe segment. But I'm at the point where if the Panthers lose at all this season, I'm actually going to I'm going to be bummed out. I'm going to be sad for Cam Newton.
All right, who loses first? The Golden State Warriors or the Carolina Panthers?
I would say, since the Golden State Warriors play more than once a week,
right?
I'm going to say them. And you're just talking about like point in time, right?
Yeah, I'm talking like, and it's on a calendar.
Yeah,
who loses first?
My guess is that it's going to be the Golden State Warriors, just because, like I said, the numbers are in their favor to lose first. But Fred, I have no problem with this. The Warriors. I'd be happy seeing both go undefeated.
Well, which I think would be great. I just real quick, I'm gonna run this down for you, and I know we didn't go over this before, but here's who the Golden State Warriors play: Raptors, that's a win; Nets, that's a win; Pacers, that's a win; Celtics, that's a win; Bucks, that's a win; Suns, Bucks, Jazz. They don't really play anyone until Christmas Day when they play the Cavaliers.
Yeah, well, my guess is their first loss is going to be against someone that their first loss is going to be against the 76ers or something.
You're right, something out of left field. Well, and the Panthers don't have anyone left either, because it's the Saints. They play in division, so it's Saints, Falcons, Buccaneers, and I think the Giants. The Giants might put a run on them, but the Panthers haven't for years lost to the NFC South. So it's going to be close.
I mean, my fear with the Panthers that their first loss is going to be in the playoffs, because the NFC South is it's weak this year. Yeah, let's just be honest. Yeah, and the NFC East isn't much better. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who out there could legitimately beat them.
None of those teams. I mean, it's none of those teams are going to give them a run.
You know what? I wouldn't even say the Patriots. They're a next man up team, and you can't count them out. But with all their injuries, I mean, it's Tom Brady. Put it this way, Fred. I'm third on the depth chart at wide receiver this week for the New England Patriots.
And you're just going to catch first downs.
Yeah, I'm a safety valve. What I do is I like to do the thing where it looks like I'm running a long route, then I stop and turn around. I'm that guy.
So you're talking about an AFC team. So you're predicting their first loss could come in the Super Bowl at best. There is a chance, because if you look at the playoff picture, the way it would line out, maybe the Vikings, because the Vikings can run the ball. Maybe the Cardinals, because the Cardinals, I think, are an all-around really good football team. Outside of that, I don't know, Mike. No one in the East, obviously no one in the South is going to do it. You're probably going to pull two teams from the North. I don't think the Panthers are going to lose, man. They're going to run the table and win the whole thing and be the best team in the history of football.
Right, unless it's like the Golden State Warriors, where they lose to someone that you don't quite anticipate. Like right now, it looks like, Fred. It looks like the NFC. Yeah, you're right. The NFC has the Cards. They have the Panthers, and then in the divisional or the wild card rounds, there's the Seahawks.
They've already beat
the Skins, the Pack, and the Vikings. So yeah, if Arizona doesn't beat them, they've got a clear path to what looks like, as of today, will be a Super Bowl showdown with the Patriots, the banged up Patriots.
And also we didn't consider they could run into a miracle quarterback like Tim Tebow.
That's true. And Tim Tebow, I feel bad for Tim Tebow, actually. He was dating this super hot. Hold on, I've got to Google her again. I spent a lot of time Google imaging search, but Olivia Culpo, she was a former Miss USA contestant. Her and Tim Tebow started dating.
She's a current 10 out of 10.
Yeah, she's an absolutely beautiful girl. And she broke up with Tim Tebow because he would not have sex with her.
You're talking about he committed the act of abstinence?
He did. And like you said, Fred, she's an absolutely beautiful girl. most adult relationships, let's be honest, sex is very important. And if you're going to have a relationship where you stay abstinent until marriage, both parties have to have they have to be very strong in that conviction. With that being said, I mean, Tim Tebow has been famous for a long time, and he's not shy with letting you know how religious he is. So if you're dating Tim Tebow and you're not getting laid, that should have been something you considered before getting serious with him.
The difference between like Tim Tebow and a guy like Russell Wilson, right? He's with Ciara, who's she's super pretty, she's a beautiful girl, and he's kind of preached the same thing, right? He's kind of, hey, we're gonna press the brakes and we're gonna go to these 1950s morals, and this is our idea. But Russell Wilson wins football games.
Right. Well, but he's had kind of an off year, and my guess is that he's got a beautiful woman like Ciara at home who he can't touch carnally until they get married. Perhaps the guy's a little bit backed up. Maybe he can't concentrate.
I very much believe Russell Wilson is a guy who is not necessarily loved by his teammates, right? And I think Russell Wilson is a guy, and this is all projection. I haven't heard this from anyone. This is
your theory, right?
My theory. He's not the leader you want for your team, and Tim Tebow had the same problem. So Russell Wilson is not a guy who instantly meshes with his teammates. A guy who does in Seattle mesh with his teammates is Marshawn Lynch. And Russell Wilson, who came from kind of like an upper echelon African-American family, didn't have maybe the turmoil and stress that guy like Marshawn Lynch coming up in Oakland, coming up on the streets, a guy like that, whenever he gets to the pros, maybe he has a self-righteousness. He was always supposed to be there. Maybe a quote-unquote Uncle Tom kind of feeling. And Marshawn Lynch, on the other hand, relates to everyone on the team. Marshawn Lynch has got everyone's back, and they're all in on him. And those problems can be overlooked if you're going to the Super Bowl and if you're winning Super Bowls. But if you're not a guy out there who's performing on the field, you're going to get ostracized real quick. And that's what happened to Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow had that same problem. He didn't relate to the other guys. He didn't instantly click. And that is what inevitably ended up being the end of his career. He was literally holier than thou.
Yeah, well, and you know what? I do have to say, I know that a lot of people got kind of annoyed with all the Tebow love when he was coming out of Florida and when he went on that run with the Broncos. And Tim Tebow and Russell Wilson, they're both not shy about the religious beliefs. And maybe they force those on their teammates or people they interact with personally. I guess maybe Tebow, you might be able to kind of make the case that he seemed to force it on people, but I don't get that impression from Russell Wilson. Like Kirk Cameron from Growing Pains.
Yeah,
that guy made infomercials where he would go on the streets and tell people they're going to hell. That's forcing it on people. When I look at Tim Tebow or Russell Wilson, I see a guy. Oh yeah, I'm Christian. I'm very religious, and they seem to leave it at that. At least when it comes to dealing with the public.
Sure. Russell Wilson is not directly doing it. Awesome, Mike. I'll buy that conversation. I will also buy the Bleacher Report articles that say, no, he's not just the most valuable player. He's the most valuable person. And then you get that article about how he does these things in the community. And he's so good because of his connection with his beliefs. And I'm telling you, the guys internally, the guys that just come to work really hard and have had to work really hard to get to that point, they do not relate to Tim Tebow / Russell Wilson.
See, and I could see that especially with Tim Tebow, because Tim Tebow was a star. He was a phenomenon before he even took an NFL snap. So you're right. You got these guys who they gel with their teammates. They're out there grinding. They're out there in the trenches, so to speak. And the reporters push right past them to go talk to Tim Tebow, a guy who's essentially a third-string quarterback in the league at best.
You think Kobe Bryant's poem was bad? Tim Tebow's got a poem inscribed on the outside of the University of Florida entrance. Like that. Like Tim Tebow was Tim Tebow before Kobe was Kobe. And Kobe's been around way longer.
Like, wait, was it a poem that Tim Tebow wrote or a poem that was written about Tim Tebow?
It wasn't even a poem. It was like a diatribe he went on about how no one's ever going to work harder than me, no one's ever going to play harder than me, and I'm never going to lose again because I love the University of Florida. And when he obviously meant God, but I love, and it's right there on the building, and it's super inspirational. It's not Jimmy V, but it's super inspirational, and everyone in the world hates him. But I mean, I love him. I think he's the best.
I mean, he seems like a nice guy. I guess. He can't put a sentence together really well, which, how he got a job in broadcasting, I'd say is beyond me, but really, he got the job because he was Tim Tebow.
Sorry, Mike. I was just going to say, you have to be able to read the temperature of a room, right? So if everyone you're associating with and everyone you're in their idea and minds going to battle with, if you can't relate to those dudes, you're going to be in trouble, and that's why his career is over, and that's why I fear for Russell Wilson.
We got to get out of here, Fred. We'll see everyone next week. The weigh-in on 590 KFNS, 1380 KXFN, weighинradio.com. See ya. There we go. An abrupt sign off. But we always do that because we keep the conversation pumping until the very last minute.
Keep the listener tuned.
That's right. All right, I'm going to stop the broadcast now.